Welcome to everyone, and thank you for coming to help celebrate Sabrina and Johnny's wedding today. I'd just like to say a few words. It's been a great day, and I think Sabrina and Johnny and a whole load of helpers have really done themselves proud putting on this occasion. It's a really nice English country wedding. It's brilliant. The weather's just about holding out, but I think it's probably keeping a lot of the humidity away, which is good. Sabrina looks fabulous, looks gorgeous. Heard a lot about this dress, and it really is stunning. Johnny scrubbed up pretty well too. I tried. Time passes very quickly these days. I know it's a bit of a cliche, but it only seems like yesterday that Sabrina arrived in this world, somewhat earlier than expected. In fact, it was after a 26-week pregnancy, and she was born weighing in at less than 2 pounds. In fact, I think she dropped down to £1.9 at one stage. So it's a real miracle that she's here today. As you can imagine, it was a scary time for many reasons, but Sabrina displayed great strength, and luckily there were no complications other than she had to remain in hospital until she was strong enough to come out, and that's when she reached the grand weight of 4 pounds. But I believe it was her early start in life and her strength to survive that has contributed to Sabrina's wisdom, kindness and consideration, and often putting others before herself. I also believe she's got an inherent drive, and despite being one of life's quieter types, she's never been afraid to put herself on the front line when she's had to. An example of this is when she went to university at Wimbledon. I must admit, I didn't think she'd go through with it, let alone stay the course, but she did it all on her own, a village girl in the big metropolis. It was at Wimbledon that Sabrina proved her creative side, going on to achieve a 2-1 honours degree in theatrical costume design. So I'd just like to say to you, Sabrina, that we're all very proud of you. And I think Sabrina and Johnny make a great couple. I can remember when Sabrina first brought Johnny to see us in Bath when they were first together. And it was whilst we were sat down at the dinner table in the evening that our youngest daughter, Chloe, she won't like me for saying this, obviously feeling very protective towards her older sister, suddenly brought out a list of 20 questions she'd carefully been scribing all day, and obviously deemed important for Johnny to answer. Poor Johnny must have been squirming in his seat, but typical of Johnny, he just smiled and played along. Most would have gone to pieces at the first time of meeting potential in-laws. So Chloe then proceeded to fire these questions at Johnny, and I think we were probably squirming more than him, not knowing what was coming up next. But the clincher for me was when she asked Johnny who his favourite rock star was. And when he replied, Dave Grohl, I then knew he was the right man for Sabrina. So I'd like to welcome Johnny into the family. I'd also like to welcome Johnny's family, Paul and Jane. Got that right? And I'd also like to take this opportunity of thanking Paul and Jane for all the support they've given to Johnny and Sabrina over the last few years, whilst they've been getting things together. And lastly, I would also like us to remember 2 very important family members that would have loved to have been here today, but are sadly no longer with us, and that's the 2 of Sabrina's grandmas, Christine and Sheila. So all that remains for me is to propose a toast to the happy couple, their health and happiness and future together. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you the bride and groom. Okay. You're up next.
Okay. So I may have not prepared a speech in the sense where I wrote it down, but I know what I want to say. And to start with, I'd like to say thank you to everybody who has helped us here today. You know who you are, you know what you've done. We could not have done this without all of you. It's been ups and downs, a bit stressful here and there, but it's all come together. And thank you massively from both Sabrina and I. You couldn't, honestly, couldn't have done it without you. But I'm going to tell you a little story on how Sabrina and I met. Now, there is a few people here who know this story, and it's a bit silly, really, because funny enough, we actually met on a friend of mine's stag do, on a night out in Henley, and our first encounter together was just a hug through one of our dearest friends, Katie, who sat over there, introduced us, and it was, other than love at first sight, or what it was, we just hit it off and connected. And the funniest part was when we went on our first date, Katie gave Sabrina my number, and I got a text message saying, "Would you like to go for a drink?" I thought she meant with everyone else, so I invited Katie to come with us, because I wasn't quite sure what she meant. So poor Katie, bless her, had to be the third party member in our first date. And as awesome as Katie is, she said, "Just give the word and I'll leave," But it was a very silly, awkward moment, but it was an awesome night, and here we are today. But as Andy has also said, there are some who are not here with us today, and I'd like to say that I know they are looking down to us, with all their love and love upon all of us. But I don't quite know what else to say, really.
You've done well.
Well, on that message, yes, thank you, Teresa. I've got to get used to saying on behalf of my wife and I, not my partner anymore, but honestly, today would not have happened with all of you, and thank you so much for everyone coming and bearing with the odd showers here and there. We've struggled through, we got here in the end. Here's to the rest of happiness life ever after. So I'd like to raise your glass to true love, to happiness. Thank you very much, everybody. And next up is obviously the best man, who is my brother, who, another one, has helped massively, so thank you. Thank you, John.
Very kind words there. Very nice words, Johnny. You soppy as you are. So, I've had the pleasure of meeting many of you today, but if you've not met me yet, as Johnny just said, I'm Ben. I'm Johnny's bigger brother. And I've had the pleasure of being his best man today, and the last few weeks have been a nightmare. Yeah? Trying to organise this man is just horrendous, but we got here in the end, and I think everyone's having a good time, so it's all good. So my family and I wish to thank each of you for joining us here today for the happiest of occasions. My little brother's marriage to his lovely bride, Sabrina. Johnny, it's not every day your friends and family, your neighbours, your co-workers, they all come together from near and far to say, "Is she really going to go ahead with this?" Well, she has. And I could not be happier for you both. Sabrina, you have been part of our family for some time now, as the rain comes down. I'll speed up. But how wonderful is it for me today to welcome you officially. You are now branded with the Wyatt label, so good luck with that. Now, what can I say about my little brother? Now, I doubt it'll be a shock to you that Johnny likes to have a good time. And I'm sure a good deal of you have either witnessed Johnny's party animal antics firsthand, or have at least read about them in the local papers. But Johnny, I've got bad news for you. Sabrina is going to be taming that wild lion-like mentality of yours for good. Well, at least I assume that's what that whip, top hat and false moustache you have in your bedroom is for. Not sure about that. Now, Johnny, after he's been out for one of his nights out, shall we say, he gets a little bit overwhelmed, which makes him a little bit sleepy. And for me, after a long night out, all I want is the comfort of my own bed. As a homing pigeon that most drunks are, we always manage to get home, and all I want is my bed. Johnny seems to take a slightly different approach to this. At the end of a night, en route home, Johnny often finds himself needing a little nap, and frequently wakes up on park benches, in ditches, the garden shed. But my personal favourite is the baby changing table in the Waitrose car park in town. But we shouldn't laugh. Johnny has had a very hard upbringing, which is why we decided to adopt him. Even with his special dietary requirement of only eating Bernard Matthews mini Kievs, which we were only able to wean him off on his 18th birthday, when we tried to further educate Johnny that other foods actually existed. Johnny has now been Kiev-free for 11 years. So I think that is a round of applause, I think, for Johnny. He's been clean. Well done, Johnny. Now, I'm sure also some of you have experienced one of Johnny's deep and meaningful chats, which is normally around 2 a.m. after way too many beers and Johnny's been on the scotch, when he starts to question his life. I remember one night, Johnny, many years ago, when you were having one of your career directional crises. Again. So I said to Johnny, what do you actually want to do? Johnny says, I want to be a snowboard instructor. Oh, right, I said. Yeah, that's what I want to do, he said. Oh, right, I said. But Johnny, you have never been snowboarding. You've not even been skiing. And last time we went sledging, you were terrified. Yeah, but that's what I want to do. Johnny, you've always been a dreamer, but I hope at least one of your dreams has come true today. So on that note, ladies and gentlemen, please raise your glasses for the bride and groom, Sabrina and Johnny, to a lifetime of love and happiness. Sabrina and Johnny.